Hello, 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 beautiful unicorn. Welcome back to my weekly live video called Get Your Shit Together Weekly Live Guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak. And today's topic is the one that has been asked of me by quite a few people in different words, but with this word specifically when it comes to planting seeds. So I decided I am going to put this into one short-ish video for everyone that has asked and also has been curious about it. But before we go any further, I want to remind you of who I am and what I do and what I live for. So what I live for, what my passion is to help each and every one of you, to help women to get your shit together and help you to break free from that mental prison that you find yourself in, so you can live the life that you are not only proud of, but love and are super excited to wake up to every single day. That sleep is no longer something that you look forward to, but you look forward to the next day. Now, how amazing would that be? Pretty freaking amazing, right? That's probably one of the biggest reasons why most of you are in this group and why most of you continue to work on yourself every single day. So as you're working on yourself every single day, this is the reason why this topic has been brought to my attention numerous times in different words, but asking the same thing. How can I continue to grow and evolve when everybody else around me isn't? How can I help them? How can I plant the seeds for them to want to be better and want to become better and want to grow and evolve with me? So the answer is pretty simple, and at the same time it's not so simple. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is that the sheer fact that you are asking this question is that you are in a way already aware that they are growing and evolving, that they are doing some work and becoming a better person, but they're not doing it as quickly as you. So that is number one thing that I want to mention, is that they are working on it, that they are doing the very best that they can, but you just want them to do a little bit more, a little bit better. So with saying that, the next thing is you got to continue working on yourself, and you got to do you, and stop taking the focus off yourself. Stop taking the foot off your gas pedal, because by you thinking, how can I help him or her to continue, grow and evolve and become a better person as I am doing, you are moving from your lane to their lane. You're taking your foot off your gas, your vehicle, and you're focusing on someone else. Or let's look at it as a ladder. You're climbing your own ladder, and by you looking at somebody else and what they're doing on that ladder, how well are they climbing that ladder, and they're not doing it as good as you, not only are you comparing, you're also not paying attention to your very next step. So that ladder can completely shatter and crumble if you don't focus on it. If you're driving in your lane, we'll use the car analogy. If you take your eyes off your road, you can end up taking your vehicle, you, off the curb and have an accident, quote unquote, if you will. And it takes you back a little bit, where you are no longer focused and driven on your own growth because you're distracted by somebody else's lack thereof, which is actually your assumption, which is not necessarily the truth. It's rarely the truth. Everyone is doing the very best they can, even if it does not come across that way. They just don't know what they don't know. And this is where now the seed planting comes in. It comes through conversation. Open and honest and loving conversation, without you having an intention of, I'm going to go and talk about this and this is what's going to happen, and in your mind having an outcome, having some kind of an expectation after this conversation. So you probably know that that's not going to happen because you've tried this before and it's not going to happen. So one thing as a coach that I had learned is never ever ever have an intention when I'm going into a call. Never have an agenda. Don't have a plan, because it's the client who comes in with their agenda, with their plan, with their intention. So it's my job as a coach to help them identify and, most importantly, clarify what they're coming in with. Because more often than not, in a coaching session, a client brings me, this is what I want to work on today. And is it rarely the actual thing that we end up working on? Because the actual thing that they want to work on is in the way of distraction. It's in the way of, this is where the pain is, this is what I think it is, but it is not that. It's surface and it goes much deeper than that. So in conversation, it's going to be the same thing. So approaching these conversations with your loved ones as a curious child, where you ask curiously, what do they want from life? Genuinely being curious and not judging what comes out of their mouth, and not judging their physical reaction as well, which also means don't show your physical reactions. Watch yourself. Pay attention to your body language, which is so much louder than your actual words. So what you're going to do is you can ask questions that are rooted in childlike curiosity and rooted in love. Be genuine and genuinely curious about what your partner, your friend, or your mom or your dad, what they're doing. So let's say, because here we're talking about growth and evolution, and often you will, if you pay attention to what people are saying, they are already telling you what they're doing and what they're not doing. They'll talk about their issues, the problems, their concerns, their fears, and the worst. So if you listen, then this is what becomes the root of your inquiry, of your curiosity, to help you understand, what are they really doing? Or is this just something that they're okay complaining over and over and over again? And that means that, are they okay staying mediocre and not becoming a successful person? And the reason why I bring in the successful person is this phrase and this quote that I live by, is that successful people deal with new problems every single year. They don't have reoccurring problems every year. Some of them deal with new problems every month or every day. What that means is that, let's use an example that is so widely spread across the world, and that is weight reduction. First of all, language is very important. That's why I'm using the language of weight reduction, because I want that to be instilled in your mind, that you're not reducing your weight. Sorry, you're reducing your weight, that you're not losing your weight. Because if you're losing your weight, you're going to be looking for it later, and you want to reduce it. So when it comes to this universal experience of reducing weight, if we use an example of a successful person, if a successful person becomes aware that this is the problem in their life, they are not going to put it off. They're going to make sure that they put everything in place to ensure their success. Hence, why they are successful. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you put away problems and you don't deal with them, and you find all different reasons and excuses why not to do something, whatever it may be, the biggest reason for everyone across the board is money. And if you allow money to be the reason and excuse, you're not going to be in that category of a successful person. You're going to stay in mediocrity just like everyone else. And if you want people in your life that you love and care about to be successful, you gotta lead by example. You gotta do the things that you know you gotta do to allow you to be a successful person. So back to that successful person who's on a weight reduction journey. They are going to identify what they need to do for themselves, and will learn everything they need to learn. It will become something that consumes them, where they are now on this road called weight reduction, and you can be here tempting them with cake and pie. Someone else can be here tempting them with the things that they love as well, and they're so laser focused that this no longer exists to them, that they're just focused on their path of success or to success, and they will be there within a year. And guess what's going to happen afterwards? After this path and journey, do you honestly think they're going to go back and revert to that old self? Absolutely not. So this is the one thing that differentiates the normies, I don't know, that's the word that came to mind, the normies and the successful people. I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted living as a normie, and I have been doing what the successful people are doing with different parts of my life, and consistently showing up every single day and doing those things, whether I want to or not. So let's keep going. Like I said, watch your expressions, watch your reactions as well. You get to share your ideas, your thoughts, your experiences as well with those that you love and care about. So that way, let me quickly, what page is this? Just give me a moment. I want to make sure that I am actually also on my, there we go. That I'm on my in the group and paying attention to everyone's comments in there, because I don't, my phone does not seem to want to show up any comments or anything like that when I am going live. So as I'm gathering myself and muting myself, okay. So here we go. I know I gotta get this thing up running before I go live to get to make it smoother process. So back to the reality here. Oops, there goes gravity. Who knows the song, right? But that is a perfect song as well. That some things, like gravity, we simply can't argue with. Other things, like your growth, others will try to argue with. But you yourself know that it's like gravity. It can't be argued with. It just is. Each and every human being is growing and evolving. Some of us are going at a faster pace than others. And I'm not here trying to remind you to, to compare your fastness with somebody else's slowness and use that as a gauge of how well you're doing, because that is a sure path to failure as well. But then again, depending on who you're comparing yourself to, it might be a sure path to success. You don't want to compare yourself to the weakest member in the group. And I'm not talking about just this Facebook group, Healing and Core Spiritual Awakening for Women. If you're not in it, come and join it. I'm talking about your group where you spend most of your time with, your friends, your family, the people that you spend most of your time with. Don't compare yourself to the weakest one of the link or of the group, but to the most successful one, because you want to follow a harder path versus the easier path. And that is the one that is going to help you to get to where you actually want to get to, and stop playing small, because you know you can play so much bigger than you have been playing so far. So share what you are doing as well. So that's another way how you can plant seeds, is you can share what you're going through, what you've been dealing with, and what you've learned. A simple conversation. And if a person gets interested, you share your response just a little bit without trying to lead them. And that might be the more challenging part. But without, the best way to describe it is, don't try to tell them what to do or how to do it. Just share what you have been doing and how you've been doing it. What you're doing in this process, you're planting a lot of seeds. You're sharing information, you're sharing wisdom, you're sharing your journey, and they get to learn from that as well. It's not much different than you listen to this video, where I'm planting a lot of seeds in here as well for you. Some of them will grow and others will not. Only you get to decide which ones to take care of and which ones to tend to and which ones not to. So what else? Ripple effect of your own evolution. I will use it in a way of your energy. That when you shift from your current energetic existence that might be rooted in victimhood, or might be rooted in order for me to have what I need to have, I have to fight everything and everyone. I will make sure that I get it. Usually it's those two. Is that when you shift energetically from those two catabolic energies, you shift into higher ones, and people will naturally feel that energy. And some people will feel safe around it, others won't feel very safe around it. And that internal safety that they feel or don't feel comes from themselves, not from you, but from themselves. Of what is it about you that is triggering them about themselves. You become a mirror to people in their life. And that's why those that don't feel safe, they simply don't like what they're seeing in that mirror, because the way that you show up physically and energetically without you saying much, they're going to resonate with it. And if it feels like too far for them to reach, they might not even reach, and they can find themselves shutting down. And that's a different conversation, because for those people, it's not about planting the seed. It's just letting them be in process until they are ready to listen and hear and be part of your journey or life in whichever way, shape, or form that they are. Well, where the other ones that feel safe, they will naturally get a little bit curious. They'll ask questions, or you can sit there quietly, and they will want to spend a little bit more time with you or around you. So that way, some of that goodness can rub off on them as well, right? So they can rub shoulders with you and have some of that. So that's what that. Now, how you show up will be different, and others will mirror you. So if you want people to show up in a certain way, you got to lead by example. You have to be that mirror for them. And I'm also, what I mentioned right now, since we're talking about a mirror, I don't want you to be showing up in a way of, in a catabolic way. And what I mean by that is in a way that is negative, that is going to not only harm you, but harm the other person. Is that, let's say someone used to treat you in a certain way, and you now want to mirror how they treated you, so they see it and they feel it and they get it. Don't do that. Don't show up in that negative mirror way, because you yourself have to look yourself in the mirror, and you know that you don't want that. So show up in the way that you actually want yourself to show up, and in return, the other people will show up in that same way. Sometimes you might have to have a little bit more conversations, a curious conversation, open-hearted conversations without taking anything personally, but that's how it could be done. So being open and honest, number one. Sharing resources is another one. So for example, like I was saying earlier, that when you learn something and you go to share it with a friend or with your partner or with a family member or even with a coworker, you can tell them, oh, I've been reading this book and I've been listening to this book, and this is what I've learned, and this is how it made me feel, and blah 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 blah, and yada yada yada, right? So I've done that throughout the years. And what's coming up for me right now is some of you might feel that I don't want to share what I'm learning with others in fear of that they're going to surpass me. That I just started reading this book. I just got introduced to this Facebook group. I just got introduced to Yana. I just started attending the Sacred Circle. I just started listening to the Heal the Unicorn podcast, or listening to these Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance videos with Yana. And I don't want to share with others because I don't want them to surpass my growth and evolution. I will share with them when I feel like I have gotten to where I need to get to. I feel comfortable and safe and happy with myself before I share that intel with anyone else. Don't approach life in that way. Not only are you limiting yourself, because you are limiting yourself in that space, you're creating walls for yourself that you think that you're protecting yourself, but in return you energetically are creating blocks and walls internally for yourself, and you are leaking out energy. And you will, let's look at your energy as 100% battery. That if you live in this state where I don't want to share with others because I'm not ready, because they might surpass me, that you are no longer at 100%. You have now taken the focus of yourself and of your growth, and you're now riddled with fear about somebody else's growth and evolution and how that might affect you. You subconsciously think that by you sharing, you're going to have less, and that somebody else is going to have more. That is never the truth of the universe. It is quite the opposite. The more you share, the more you give, the more you're going to get back. But if your intention behind it is the dark one, is the catabolic one, is I must get something in return, that then you're not going to get the positive of it. You're going to get the negative of it, because your focus is now on the negative side, on the dark side versus the light side. Choose your side. You do have to choose your side. And if you want to live a happy and abundant life, it is in the light. It is not in the dark. And most of the world is living in the dark, and they're feeling and experiencing the dark. And by feeling and experiencing the dark and focusing and thinking about it more and more and more, because it becomes the only lullaby that they know, is they have more of that and more of that and more of that. I have been there, I have done it, and there's still times where I catch myself singing that lullaby for certain parts of my life. And this is when I become present and aware of the moment and rewrite it and change it. Because that is the opportunity. When you don't feel like yourself, that's the opportunity for you to go within and figure out why the hell not, and do something about it. So sharing resources, like recommending books and videos and articles that have helped you in your spiritual journey, is definitely an incredible way to plant seeds. Even inviting people to this group might be another way to plant a seed, to help them see, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm learning, and I would love for you to check it out and see if this is something that you would love to do with me and have fun growing together with me. Keeping in mind this group is for women as well. So with men, it's a little bit different. This is where I know we have the podcast. I will get into uploading more podcasts on our platform, and so there's going to be other contents that will be available outside of this group. When I start uploading them on there, I will let you know. And those are the pieces of content you can definitely share with everyone else, no matter their gender. So invite curiously. Don't just assume that someone wants something that you have. You can invite somebody curiously. So it's encourage your loved ones to ask questions about your journey. Sometimes curiously can lead to understanding. So when you get curious about your friends, your parents, your co-workers, your employees, employers, your partner, when you get curious about them, and their life, because everybody's favorite subject is themselves. It really is. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. Even those that are really quiet and silent, they love to talk about themselves. They might not be so vocal about it, but if you give them the opportunity, they will talk. So let people that you care and love take the stage and speak about themselves, because when they speak about themselves, you get the opportunity to listen and hear, understand who they are. And by doing that, you're allowing space for curiosity to grow for them and for you, because now you're showing up in a different way that they're not familiar with on how you used to show up, because maybe perhaps you used to take over the conversation. You made the conversation all about you. And then now you're switching gears and you're making conversation all about them, and they get curious about what happened with you, what changed in you that has allowed for that space to happen. And guess what's going to happen? What's going to happen is that they will naturally want to be around you more and want to learn from you more. Now, making sure that you maintain that same approach without now becoming a teacher and a preacher, that you only give the answers that they're asking for. They'll ask you questions, and you give them the answer that they're asking for, no more, no less. And perhaps this could be actually an exercise for you as well to practice your intuition, where you intuitively tap into the person that you have a conversation with to help you gauge on when you are on that boundary of they can no longer hear or let any more information in, that they've had enough and heard enough to just stop with your flow, and let them process what you've already said, because this is more than enough for them. You don't want to overwhelm anyone with information, and yourself as well. So you can do that. Another one, which I already said, is yesterday in a podcast I mentioned this. Monkey see, monkey do. That means lead by example. Show them how it's done. You are focusing on your growth and your evolution, and you're doing what you have decided and determined for yourself that you're going to be doing, and you are committed to it, to your growth and evolution. And those around you will follow suit. You need to demonstrate how it's done. Anything that you do in life, you need somebody else to help you see the path, because you yourself are very rarely able to see the whole path. You can see just a little bit, or maybe you see way too far, and it's more like, I see this goal and this destination, but I don't know how to get there. And this is where somebody else needs to come in and help you to close that gap. With people that you care and love in your life, it's the same concept. They will see where you are and they'll be like, oh my God, how do I get there? Help me close the gap. And you're going to help them to close the gap just a little bit at a time. Offer to learn together. I feel like that I already covered that one as well. Whether I'm listening to this book, let's listen to this book together, and then approach this together. So one example of the book that I have listened to, I've listened to it once, my husband listened to it now twice. We have the physical book as well. We have followed the footsteps, and he was the one that brought it to me and said, I really want to try this. I really want to do this. And because I'm open to these things, to these conversations, because we've have history that has led us both to this point, to grow and evolve together and have fun doing this. And it's this book called The Bulletproof Diet. And I've mentioned this many times. And those of you who, so if you didn't listen to the beginning of this video, I recommend to go to the beginning and listen to everything. There's a lot of powerful information in the beginning, talking about the weight reduction journey, especially. And so when you're doing it with someone, it's so much easier. And this book was the one that opened up our eyes in so many different ways, and then coming and talking about what he learned from this book and what I learned from this book. We're listening to the same book, but yet we get different information from it, and in a little bit of a different way, and it becomes a mastermind, right? We have a mentor, which is the writer of the book, the creator of the book, and his mind and my mind, and come together and build something beautiful together that has led us both and continue to lead us and on this weight reduction journey, where we're able to stay in our individual paths, individual lanes. Even though we're doing it together, he has his own lane and I have my own lane. There are certain things that he will eat that the bulletproof diet might not recommend, or I won't, because our mindsets are still our own individual mindsets. And I'm not here to control, and this is another reminder, let go of control and expectation. Just because you guys are doing something together does not mean it has to be identical. Allow yourself to be you and allow them to be them without trying to coerce and manipulate to, you must do it my way or we're not doing it. That is not going to lead to the path of success. It is going to lead to a path of dark place, and usually that is failure. But without failure, there would not be success. So even though it might lead you to failure, eventually it will lead you to success. It's just a matter of how quickly do you want to get there. And if you want to get there quicker, don't go at it alone. No matter what it is that you're doing, don't go at it alone. Even I talk about support fortress many times, and I'll bring the support fortress right now. The support fortress is not just an idea for you, it's an idea for everyone in your life as well, everyone you love and care about, that they each need to make sure that they have different people in their life that they can go to based on what problem that they're dealing with and overcoming or facing. That each person to go to is in a way an expert in that specific thing. So if we're, let's talk about professionals. So therapist, there's many different types of therapists. Coach, there's many different types of coaches, depending on what it is that you're focusing on in your life. This is the coach that you will be going to, right? Some of your family members that are knowledgeable in some areas, you can go to them as well. You're not gonna go to let's say to a cashier at the bank and ask them on mortgage advice and how to, or maybe how to run your business. You're not going to go to them. You're going to go to the experts. You're going to go to the mortgage expert or advisor who knows their shit. Or for a business, you're going to go to a business expert who will tell you how to do it, how to do it right versus how to do it wrong. So, there we go. Oh, see, I don't see comments on here. I see them on my phone. Hey, Rebecca. She says, I'm so sad Facebook was not letting me join you live. Really interesting. I don't know why. That's a Facebook problem. That's not a me problem. But then again, maybe it is a me problem, and I got to figure out how to fix that. Exactly how I feel right now, not myself. So if you're not feeling like yourself, what is it that can help you to feel more like yourself, that has helped you in the past? Going back and reflecting on when was the last time you felt this way, and what did you do that helped you to feel more like yourself? And another question on top of that is, what was different about you then that allowed you to feel the way that you wanted to feel? And understanding what was different about you then versus what's different about you now can help you to understand yourself so much more. Now, Rebecca says the problem is every time I have a bad day, it appears to others that I have not changed. People who have not studied this don't understand things such as PTSD and healing. this is a very normal assumption for everyone. They just think, oh, you're the same person. And here's here's one realization that my husband shared with me, is that he himself realized, even though I know I've mentioned it many times, you've probably heard this before as well, that when growing up, parents would say, why is it that I say this to you so many times and you don't hear what I'm saying, but then somebody else says it and then you hear it all of a sudden? It's because our ears are tuned in to block off those we love, and they're tuned out. They're not listening to those that we love, because we come from this energetic place of, I know everything and you don't. It's the ego. And whereas people outside, we're much more open and willing to listen and hear them. And that's why at a certain point, we become programmed by the external world outside of our home than in the home. So when it comes to the realization that my husband shared, is what he realized is this truth, is that we all have good days and bad days. And just because my wife is having a bad day, that does not mean that she has gone back to her old self. She's just having an off day, a bad day. And the higher realization was, how can I help her to get back to herself and not beat her down? Right? Not keep her down where she is. And the way that it would be kept down, what you said right there, that's something that will be keeping you down. And probably keeping you down, not just for hours, but for days and maybe even weeks. Because that's the stuff that starts replaying from level 1, where I've done all this work and all this effort and all this energy, and I have become a better person. But why can nobody see? Why can't he see? Why can't she see? Why can't they acknowledge? Why can't they validate? Why am I doing this? Why am I even bothering? Where I try and I try and I try and nothing happens. Where that is the reality. That is your current reality, and that is your current state. But that is not the actual reality. This is your opportunity to allow your higher coach to chime in, or maybe if you have a coach, to allow your coach to help you chime in and question the truth of your current state in existence. Where, how true is this really? Have you really not grown? Have you really not evolved? Are you still the same person than you were a month, 2 months, or a year ago? How have you grown? How have you changed? What's different about you? Focusing on the growth and evolution and who you are now, bringing that in and shutting down that gremlin that is not helping you right now, and reminding that gremlin that they got a different job, they got a better job to do, and this is not it. So it will appear to others that you have not changed, that you're the same person, because in that state, in that space right now, you are or have gone back to your old self. And what they're doing, because we can look at it as those that love us, they will push our buttons, but they push our buttons to help us grow, because they know that we can do better and we are better than this. So it's their way of checking in and reminding you that you have gone back to your old self. Why are you doing this? Get out of there, because I know that you have so much more in you. And that's not a nice way of saying it, that you haven't changed, you're the same, and beating you down and keeping you down unconsciously, of course, because once they become conscious of that behavior and how they show up, they won't be doing it anymore, because they will recognize how much pain and suffering it is causing you. And you can tell them until you're blue in the face, but until they understand it and they learn it through themselves, like I said, when it comes to family, the ego is really strong, and it does not allow very much space for growth and evolution unless they learn to put that ego aside. And that is something that they got to do on their own, exposing themselves to different pieces of content to help their personal growth and evolution in the way that is meant to be for them. So yeah, with that one, I think that would be it. And then bringing in PTSD into that, and healing. No, they won't understand. We don't understand what other people are going through unless we go through it ourselves. I'll use an example, since this is a city that I have pictures of the twin girls that my husband and I lost, Sasha and Alexis, and my daughter and I have just looked at them the other day for the first time, for me and of course for her as well. And so I'll use an example of a miscarriage. You can only understand your experience when you go through a miscarriage, and you can't understand anybody else's. You can't understand other women's miscarriages, but you understand it in relation to yours. Now, if you've never had a miscarriage, you won't really understand what it feels like and what it sounds like and how traumatizing it can be. Same thing with depression. If you haven't experienced depression yourself, you can't even have those conversations, and you can tell people that haven't experienced depression themselves, and they've also gotten shitty advice, but be happy, just, move on, just ignore it, just, distract yourself. That does not work. And the whole just be happy, just think positively, that does the opposite. It does come down to internal feelings and emotions. You gotta work through it. You can't ignore it. You can't put it in the back burner. You can't say, I'm gonna deal with it tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow becomes today. And if you keep saying, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, you're creating a program of I'm gonna do it tomorrow, which means you're actually never going to do it, because tomorrow does not exist. So if you get in the habit of I'm doing this today, and I'm doing this today, and I'm doing this today, then you're gonna get in the habit of I'm doing this today. And there's no ifs or buts about it. I'm just doing it. So decide what you want in life, from life, and who you want to be while you're living this life, while you're playing this game called life. And decide how you're going to get there. And stay focused on yourself and what you're doing. Other people, whether they're coming at you, like Rebecca shared, or they're here and supporting you, they're not you. And each and every person outside of you is really an opportunity for you to gauge where you are and where, in relation to where you're trying to go. So if somebody's calling you out on your current state, listen to them. Yes, it might be horrible, it might be painful, especially how they're coming across, but listen to them, because they are coming from a place of love, not in a loving way. That does not sound like a loving way, but they are coming from a place of love. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't even bother. They would just ignore and let you be, and they wouldn't deal. So those that love you, especially those that love you very deeply, they will do the hardest things, and that is to help you grow and evolve in the areas that you both at some point identify you needed growth for yourself and as a unit together. So that's all I have for you guys for today. Hopefully this was helpful, and if it was, I would absolutely love your support in letting me know if you watched me live or on replay and what your biggest takeaway was and most importantly, what you're going to do with it. And feel free to answer any questions that I have asked throughout as well, whether here in the comments or in your own journal that you want to hold on to, and you want to be able to reflect back one day when you are ready. And share this group with others, and invite other women into this group that you know would benefit from such contents as this, or such live guidance training as Get Your Shit Together. Thursday weekly lives at 11:30-ish in this group, Heal the Unicorn Spiritual Awakening for Women. But other than that, I will see you all next Thursday for another one of these Get Your Shit Togethers, where we get together and we get our shit togethers. Or maybe I'll see you on Monday for my weekly card reading or intuitive reading as well. Yeah, and until then, thank you everybody. Thank you, Rebecca, on being on here with me live, and thank you for everyone who's watching me on replay, or is replaying for the second time, or was a silent watcher, or also sharing with other women who can benefit from this. Even if your friends are in this group and you want them to pay attention to this specific video, you can tag them in the video themselves. Just tag them and let them know why you want them to watch. Because one thing I have noticed, with myself especially, if somebody tags me in something and I don't know why, I ain't doing it. I'm just not doing it. I need to know why you're inviting me into this space or into this place, and each and every one of us wants to know why. What's your intention behind it? So let them know what you got from it and why you're inviting them, to see maybe this is what they would really enjoy for themselves as well. And Rebecca says #live, and truly appreciate this #live. Oh, thank you very much. And I truly appreciate you as well, and your continuous support every single time I come on here. So thank you very much. And until I see you, Rebecca, and everybody else who is watching as a silent watcher or replay watcher or listener later, at some later point for you guys. And until next time, thank you everybody. Bye. Have an amazing weekend.